I don't know if maybe it was just my standards going into this movie, but can you really blame me for not having the highest expectations after what we've seen since Jurassic Park for dinosaur movies? Hello, everyone. My name is Jake from Talk Too Much. I just got done seeing the end of Oak Street. It was a great little fun time here. This was one of the major releases that was happening this weekend. It kind of caught my eye with Anne Hathaway and Ewan McGregor in alongside many others in the cast, but I have not really been on the biggest excitement for dinosaur movies. I don't know if maybe just the past several have just been miss after miss after miss, but really it's been hard to get excited about a dinosaur movie since Jurassic Park with everything that just CGI slop these days. And so going into the end of Oak Street, I was willing to give it a chance with who all was in the cast and how there was very little information other than, Ewan McGregor and Hathaway, they play two parents, and there's just dinosaurs, and the rest is just left for you to figure it out. The plot was just randomly in this neighborhood. I want to say it's 1982. Anne Hathaway, Ewan McGregor, they're a married couple with two kids, kind of going through a rough patch. Their relationship has been extremely rocky lately, and so just one night, randomly, they teleport back in time to the dinosaur ages. That's exactly what happened. So starting off with the positives of the end of Oak Street, I think that this was a movie that maybe just a lot of people had low expectations for, but as the movie kept progressing, it kept riding on this very high with all the dinosaurs coming in and being set in the stage, very much reminiscent of Jurassic Park, when it comes to the dinosaurs always being the threat, there's a lot of these movies lately, they just tend to miss. I don't know what it is, but this movie sets a tone, especially with the help of the score in this film, where everything is able to just kind of go on this exciting journey. When all the dinosaurs are appearing, all the noises of whenever the family members are each figuring out about the dinosaurs and like what their situation is. The score of this movie does a really good job setting that up, and it very much is reminiscent of Jurassic Park in a very good way, in a complimentary way. It's not futuristic or trying to be modern or anything like that. It very much brings those classical, influential elements into the movie, and I can appreciate that a lot. Another positive I have to give is Ewan McGregor and Anne Hathaway. Both their performances are spot on in this movie. I think the most exciting part is seeing Anne Hathaway with a shotgun. I mean, I can't tell you the last time she was in an action movie other than, I would say, maybe The Dark Knight Rises. That's the only one that sticks in my head as the last time she's really been in an action film. Other than that, she's more so on the romance and the drama side of movies. There's nothing wrong with that, but it was just something seeing that in the trailer and then seeing that in the movie. It just really makes her stand out as a badass. Same thing with Ewan McGregor. I really enjoyed what his character was when it came to the two in their relationship, how he was more optimistic about the situation, which I thought was very, very interesting to bring, where, like, you're surrounded by millions of dinosaurs, people are getting eaten alive left and right, and he's the optimistic one of, hey, maybe this will work out. Maybe if we just bunker down, we'll figure out and understand what happened, and it'll all be okay. But meanwhile, you have Anne Hathaway trying to take charge and being like, no, we need to get survival kit. We need to get food, water. We need to do whatever we can to survive. So I thought the two of them playing that dynamic back and forth, it really worked well with this movie, and I very much like what they had to do with this story. Now, I wasn't exactly able to pick up with the trailer what decade it was, but you can tell it was earlier than the 2000s, and so I feel like that was a smart decision. You can't be too modern when it comes to these dinosaur movies, but if you're able to intertwine it a certain way to where it makes sense, I felt like it was very fitting. I mean, you don't have the advances of technology. You're just kind of left with a sledgehammer, a shotgun. What do you have in your normal household that you're able to use for defense? And lastly, what I will get into with my positives, and I know this might be an unpopular opinion, I like the way that this movie just kind of threw everything at you. It's not really giving you a lot to wonder other than like why and how this could have happened, but it kind of leaves that question up up in the air to where it's like, this is the situation, this is what happened, this is how the neighborhood got here. There's no other explanation as to how it happened. It just happened and they have to survive. And I think that was a really smart way of playing this movie off. I feel like if you start to get too specific, start to get into the details, people are just going to start tearing it apart with the logic. And I feel like kind of taking that, removing it completely and just throwing it in there was a smart decision to bring with this movie, to where I wasn't even thinking about the why and the how. Yes, I was left wondering that, but it didn't constantly drag me through the movie and I'm left with that question. I'm more so like, are these characters going to be able to even survive? And so moving on to the mixed portion I have with this movie, the characters can be a little hard to get into, especially when it comes to the kids. I don't feel like there was really a lot with the kids to kind of grab onto. Obviously, you don't want anything to happen to them, of course, but it was just kind of like, I didn't really have any gravitation towards them. I was more concerned about the mother and the father getting through than the kids. There was just nothing really for me to latch on to them about that. I know that just has to do with the story of their characters and who they are. The performances are still great. Nothing against that. I think everybody did great on the performance aspect. It's just story-wise, I was kind of left mix on these characters, how I'm supposed to be gravitating towards each and every one of them, and really I'm only caring about the main two leads. Another big mix I do have, and I don't know how I feel about it after, is there's a certain direction or a certain choice that this story decides to make with a major character. I will not spoil what it is. Once it happened, though, I kind of was not really happy with that decision. They kind of tried to correct it towards the very end, but I still was left scratching my head, not really happy about the decision that they chose to make, and then like the aftermath of said decision and how it all played out. It was a very big deal. So that was just one thing. Finishing this movie and thinking on it, I kind of wish they didn't make the said decision. I understand why, story purposes, why they kind of did that, but again, I feel like there was a different direction they could have taken with it. So that's just something I'm a little mixed on. Again, they correct it at the end, but still, it still happens in the movie and plays a major effect in it. Another mixed element I do have is that they decided to bring in this side character who's a neighbor, and so this side character kind of just immediately joins into this family, but there's not really anything to her other than, you know, that she goes to a private school. Her family is apparently loaded, and so she just joins his family, but she doesn't really add anything to the dynamic. She's just kind of there. That's one thing that felt very, very odd to me, at least. And the last thing I'll get into the mix factor is I thought that the dinosaurs were fine. It was cool the way that they were trying to set it up with the old ages. I didn't have a problem with it exactly, but there were some times where just the CGI was a little too much, or I just was a little off to me. I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I know they had to make certain decisions with that. There is one decision that they choose to do with a T-Rex that when the CGI moment happens, I was really not a fan of. But I guess, I mean, you can still tell that they did the best they could with the details of the dinosaurs, everything like that. So really, it more so comes down to the violence. And so when the dinosaurs are actually attacking the people, how that all plays out, it's kind of left me feeling a little bit of a mixed bag. Going on to my negatives now. So the ending is very weird to this movie and what they decide to do. It's just very odd. There's no other way to explain it other than it's odd. So it's very hard to put into words. It's not an ending I was expecting for this movie, but it kind of like wraps it around. I mean, this is an hour and a half long movie. They wrap the whole thing up in almost about 15 minutes, kind of. When you get to like the middle section of this movie, going into the third act, you understand how they are trying to fix and save themselves from what has happened. But then when they go into the execution part of it, it mainly just happens in the last 20 minutes where it's all flying by so fast. It kind of didn't have a lot of time to breathe. I also was just a little bit puzzled because it had multiple chances. I mean, they could have extended some work with the characters and give them a little bit more of a character development in some of these moments, but it very much felt very rush, 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 rush. Let's kind of get to the ending. Let's wrap everything up in the last 20 minutes. I wasn't exactly a fan of that. Shockingly enough, I kind of wish they took more time to grow these characters out and have more of a well paced ending to this film rather than, oh, this is what we need to do. We don't know what's going to happen, but if we do this, everything is going to get fixed again. That's exactly what happens, and just it's something where I'm like, okay, I get the last 2 minutes. I get why it all wraps in a complete circle. I don't agree with the decision. I felt like there was another way they could have executed the ending of this movie just a little bit better. But overall, I did have a good time with this movie. Probably not one I'm going to likely rewatch anytime soon, but seeing Anne Hathaway in more of an action role and more of a parental figure role with this kind of movie was very nice. I like that this is probably the best dinosaur movie we have gotten since Jurassic Park, and it's not really, I mean, that's not putting it lightly. I can't tell you the last time we've had a good dinosaur movie. So the fact that they were able to pull all their influences from Jurassic Park without making a complete ripoff, but having standout moments in 2026, it's a very good thing, and it's a complimentary thing I have to give towards this movie. So overall, let me know what you think down below in the comments, like, share, and I'll see you guys in the next video.